I don't think there are any warlocks around. I opened the box and oh my god, an orange is out. Mythic is opening a group, orange team. Warlocks, please don't disturb. Just like usual, Li Ming returned to his apartment after get off work, had a simple dinner, turned on his computer and played the game he had been playing for 6 years, World of Warcraft. Then he saw these messages and burst into tears. There is no way his World of Warcraft profession is 10-man role. Oh, no, it is a warlock. Since Blizzard launched the Legion expansion and added the mechanism of randomly picking up orange equipment, the thunderous drums of war once again resounded between the European emperors and the Africans. But this has nothing to do with him, because the warlock has become the supreme pope of Africa. There are even rumors that warlocks have no oranges in their lives, and no oranges can grow within a 100-yard radius of warlocks. So Li Ming hasn't been able to play a dungeon for a long time. Even for random heroes, the other 4 teammates would quit immediately. Without playing dungeons, equipment can't be upgraded, and artifacts can't be upgraded. Finally, Li Ming gritted his teeth and decided to spend money on a gold group, but, haha. Boss, what do you need? Our team specializes in playing 115th level Great Secret Realms and various epic group dungeons. Godlike enjoyment, cabbage-like prices. What do you mean you are a warlock? Sorry, boss, your fee will be doubled. After contacting the team named Spaceship Never Overturned, Li Ming explained his requirements and negotiated the price, but after revealing his occupation, he received the following reply. Okay, I have something urgent to do and I'm going to log off first. Li Ming replied calmly and then hung up YY. Then he took off his black-framed glasses with his shaking left hand. This is discrimination. He suddenly threw his glasses on the table and roared loudly. So that's how it is. It's obviously their own fault, but they say I'm hindering their luck. Who are they? The group, Epic, and heroic copies all exclude warlocks. Now even the gold group has to double the fee. I hope they are a bunch of shameless scumbags buried under the black soil of Black Africa and never get orange equipment, not even a glimpse of it. Ah! He was still venting hysterically, as imposing as the head of state in 1943, but suddenly he let out a scream. It turned out that he was dancing with excitement just now, and his movements were too big and touched the oranges he had placed on the computer desk, resulting in an electric shock. Then, hee. The next day, the weather was dry recently, so residents were asked to use electricity with caution. This was the last echo of him, Li Ming, left in this world. Li Ming's life ended there, but his consciousness or soul did not disappear. After an unknown amount of time and countless impossible coincidences, he came to another world and possessed a baby boy who had just frozen to death at the door of an orphanage. Just after he possessed the baby boy, he was discovered by the nuns in the orphanage and taken away. The baby boy grew up healthily under the care of the orphanage, and Li Ming's memory remained dormant until he was 14 years old, when he woke up from a dream. After being in a daze for an hour, Li Ming felt that he must have traveled through time. However, he had lived in this world for 14 years after all, so he did not feel strange or out of place. After sorting out the memories that had become confused due to the awakening of the previous life, he knew that, first of all, he was in the United States, and secondly, he could not be called Li Ming now, but Evanson Richter. He was a blonde and blue-eyed Germanic orphan who grew up in an orphanage. In that case, I will be called Evanson Richter from now on. He accepted the change of his name very calmly, but the reason was not to say goodbye to his past self, but purely because his current household registration, ID card, and a series of insurances were all registered in this way, and he could not explain why a Germanic white man who grew up in an American orphanage would have a Chinese name. Except for the ears not being so pointed, I'm just like a blood elf. Standing in front of the mirror, Evanson sighed at his current appearance. His current appearance was different from other Germans. First, his facial features were more delicate, and the color of his eyes was darker, that is, more green. Overall, not bad. Evanson was quite satisfied with his current appearance. After all, he was a handsome young man. He bet that with his current appearance, he could definitely ask the cashier to give him 2 bottles of soy sauce when he went to the supermarket. After confirming his current identity, and that he was still a man who liked women, and that he looked pretty good, Evanson began to have wild thoughts. After all, he had traveled through time, so it was understandable that he was a little excited. Since I have traveled through time, I should have a system, grandfather, spirit, ancient demon king and the like. Evanson thought seriously. According to Zhao Ritian, Long Autian, Yi Liangcheng and other predecessors who can be regarded as the conscience of the travel industry, and the serious legends they left behind, such as Momo Against the Heaven, Momo I Am the King and Momo Across the Momo World, which are documentary manuscripts that can be regarded as guides for travelers. He should have a system, and with his help, he will reach the pinnacle of life, win a lot of white, rich and beautiful women, and become a winner in life. He even thought of the pseudonym for his future adventures in the world, which is called Doragon Proud Sky. However, ideals are full, but reality is very skinny, and sometimes it may be a white bone spirit. After trying a series of standard postures of the Traverser summoning system, such as silently reciting in his mind, sitting on the ground to meditate, facing the sky with 5 hearts, and difficult yoga movements, he found that there was no response. Then he tried the non-mainstream summoning method of cursing in his mind and talking nonsense, but it was useless. Alas, it seems that fate is not in my hands. Anyway, I am content to live a new life. After the summoning system failed, Evanson decided to accept his fate, but just when he tilted his head 45 degrees to show off, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. He had a portable space and immediately mastered how to use it. Well, my fate is not decided by God. I know I want to go against God. What the hell is this? Just when Evanson felt that he was destined to go against God, God gave this guy who always wanted to go against himself a heavy punch. The moment Evanson opened the portable space, a piece of paper fell out of it. I don't know what material it is made of, but it gives people a very awesome feeling. It feels like the other party is either a true god or the Pope. If you throw it into the square, there will definitely be ignorant girls screaming and fainting. However, the content written on it, I solemnly declare that this time travel is a lucky draw gift package for the exact year of the establishment of this consortium. It is definitely not an experimental accident. Now this time travel service and related benefits have been distributed at one time. Please check it yourself in the space of the traveler. In addition, I solemnly declare that this consortium will not accept any complaints or returns. Come and bite me if you have the guts. Filia void profiteer, these 2 words are smeared consortium. Looking at this particularly disappointing manual, Evanson was speechless. But he still decided to check what was in his personal space first. Maybe there was an old man there. Then he found that this was his Warlock's backpack. Damn, what after-sales service. This was his own stuff. 1,000 gold coins. If I had known, I would not buy a game card at the auction house. Otherwise it would have been 200,000 gold coins. Azeroth National Geography is a map that can zoom in and out of all places in Azeroth, including Outland, Draenor, and the newly released Broken Isles. However, it is just for viewing and has no other use. Azeroth Million Treasures has illustrations of all the things with names that have appeared in Azeroth, but it is just for viewing and has no other use. Looking at these 2 pitfalls, Evanson seemed to be inspired. He heard the will of the universe. He said majestically, "The reputation of the filial profiteers is well known in the void, and it is not in vain." He casually put the 2 illustrated books back into the portable space and continued to read. The next part is the highlight. Oh yeah, it's artifacts. Free artifacts. My free life artifacts as a warlock. Pain Othlesh Deadwind Reaper, a giant sickle. Destruction Scepter of Sargeras, a staff. Demonology Skull of the Fallen, a skull and a dagger with a modified spine. These 3 artifacts are rampant in the game. After all, millions of great masters have one in their hands. However, if they were placed in the real world, they would definitely be killer weapons. Compared with ordinary epic equipment, they are like a small pistol. When it comes to RPG, of course, it could also be a flying sprint, depending on the user's ability. Evanson's comment on this is, "Damn it. Artifacts are good things, and many people dream of them, but warlock artifacts are no longer in this category." To be honest, warlocks are a profession that is particularly obsessed with power, so this profession has produced many villains, such as the famous Gul'dan. Yanzu. It can be guaranteed that no warlock can remain calm after discovering the 3 artifacts, but no warlock dares to hold the artifacts in his hands directly. Usually, the reckless people who dare to do so will either have their souls directly sucked away by the artifacts or be burned to ashes. In a better situation, you will be controlled by the artifact and become its servant. It is it that uses you, not you who use it. Only those warlock masters who are powerful enough and whose spiritual world is as firm as the eternal wall of size dare to say that they can fully master the 3 artifacts. Therefore, looking at the 3 artifacts lying in his personal space, Evanson felt a sense of betrayal. Because let alone using them, he dared not even take them out of the personal space. If he really took them out, Othlesh would instantly harvest all life within a radius of at least 1 kilometer nearby. Not to mention humans, he estimated that even microorganisms would not be left. The Scepter of Sargeras would drill holes in the twisting void, and the shadows and fell flames would flatten the entire block. The Skull of the Fallen would bewitch the intelligent life here and make them submit to him, and then it would open a portal to the demon space. If all were taken out at once, this world would be GG. It would be better to throw yourself on the nuclear reactor than to touch these things now. Take your attention away from those 3 awesome things that are not for human use. Evanson found the last thing in the portable space, a black leather book. The cover of this book has evil and blasphemous runes, and it feels creepy and soft. I hope it's not human skin, so you won't peel off my skin when you read it. Evanson muttered to himself as he identified the symbols on the cover. He found that he didn't recognize any of the words on it, but he could clearly understand the meaning of it. This was a communication on the soul level. The cover said Warlock spells. Well, the name is quite straightforward, but wouldn't it be better to call it the Book of the Dead, the Book of Darkness, the Book of Demons, etc.? Complaining about the name that sounded like a Momo dictionary, Evanson began to study the usage of the book. I called out his name, but there was no response. I double-clicked the cover, but there was no response. Did he have to drip blood to recognize his master? I gritted my teeth and cut my finger to drip blood on it, but there was still no response. Fuck, this is not a useless thing, is it? What kind of welfare is this? What is this idiot doing? Books are for reading, doesn't he know that? Just when Evanson was going crazy, he heard the above conversation, and it ran directly in his mind. He looked at his own space and found that the Skull of the Fallen was staring at him, and his fleshly skull seemed to have a smile on it, and Oath Hills, the huge blade reflected a strange red light. Of course, if you find reading too much trouble, we can teach you in person, as long as. Before he could finish, Evanson suddenly closed the space, and the sound naturally stopped. It seemed that they could not penetrate the space barrier. I knew it. How? I knew it. How? These things, the artifacts of the Warlock, are not that simple. I almost agreed to him. After closing the space, Evanson gasped heavily, and cold sweat almost flowed from his head to his feet. How can a Warlock's artifact be simple? They are alive and have souls. Among the 3 artifacts, only the Scepter of Sargeras is soulless. The other 2, the Skull of the Fallen, was called Thalkil in his lifetime. He was the first Eredar to study demonic power and the mentor of Archimonde. Alt Hills, the Harvester of the Dead, imprisoned the soul of Othlesh, the Dreadlord who dared to challenge the fallen Titan Sargeras. They have already killed more than one master. If you are an ordinary human being now and come into contact with these 2 old bastards, you will definitely be eaten up in seconds. Just like just now, Evanson was entangled with the gods and ghosts and wanted to agree to their proposal to teach him magic. Just kidding, letting them teach, taking away their souls is definitely the lightest consequence. After this lesson, he would never have any communication with these old idiots before he became a Warlock Master. As for the level of a Warlock Master, well, I will tell you when you reach level 98. However, those 2 old idiots reminded him that books are for reading. Was he mentally ill just now? It seems that time travel novels have done a lot of harm to him. Isn't this still a rip-off? He flipped open the book, looked at the first page, and just after reading the table of contents, Evanson threw the book to the ground and cursed. 3 years of casting spells, 5 years of simulations, and 100 volumes of questions. Damn it, is this learning magic or advanced mathematics? But no matter how much you curse, you still have to read it. Fortunately, these things can be learned. As long as you insist on doing 30 exercises every day, you can really learn magic in a short time. After a while, you can do the job of a warlock, deal with the demons in the twisting void, trade some knowledge and power, and kidnap 1 or 2 to make babies. Although I think so, I still feel sick when I look at the 3-year casting and 5-year simulation questions in my hand. If I had worked so hard in my previous life, I might have been admitted to a prestigious university, obtained a high degree, and then become a CEO, a chairman, and won a beautiful and rich woman, becoming a winner in life. It seems that knowledge is power, and this famous saying is not empty talk. But it doesn't matter. If you didn't work hard in your last life, you should work hard in this life. And this is not as simple as going to a prestigious university. This is magic, magic. Evanson thought to himself, and names such as Urban Momo, Momo Urban Legend, Top Momo, and X-Flower appeared in his mind. When Evanson finished his YY, he found that it was already morning, and it was almost time for breakfast, so he was full of ambition and opened the door to a new world. However, the new world hit him hard. Evanson came to the cafeteria. There was nothing special here as usual, but there were 2 posters on the wall. One was to commemorate the X-60th year of the World Anti-Fascist War. This was normal. After all, World War II was too tragic, so it was not strange to commemorate it. But the other poster shocked Evanson beyond words. The poster showed a man in tight clothing, with the American flag as the main color, blue with stars and stripes. He was also holding a round shield, which was also blue with a red circle and a big 5-point star in the middle. Evanson felt something was wrong when he saw the portrait on the poster. He looked up at the title and became more certain of his thoughts. The title reads, "In memory of Captain America's death, Momo years," and there is a line of small words below, "Veterans never die. May freedom and glory be with you." Captain America. It's Captain America. How could this happen? Evanson muttered in a daze, and then he finished his breakfast absent-mindedly and returned to his room. He covered his face with his hands and buried his head in his knees. He carefully recalled his memories of the past 14 years in this world. Through recollection, he found that this was not a prank, and he did have an impression of Captain America in his memory, but he just didn't notice it at first. Captain America Steve Rogers, the only successful case of the U.S. government's super soldier program during World War II, led his special team to charge into battle and made great achievements. In the end, he crushed the plan of the evil Nazi organization Hydra and died together with its leader Red Skull. He is regarded as a symbol of the American spirit and the greatest hero since the founding of the United States. This is Evanson's memory of Captain America, and it is also the official propaganda of the U.S. government. But according to the memory of his previous life, Captain America is not dead yet. He should still be frozen under the ice with the cosmic cube in his arms. However, through this incident, Evanson finally figured out the nature of this world. This is not the America he knew in his previous life, but the America of the Marvel world. Alas, the dream has been shattered before it even began. Evanson lamented. He had originally planned to follow the example of many predecessors in the world of time travel and make an American Momo, but the cruel reality shattered all his dreams in the time it took to have breakfast. Because this is the Marvel world. This world can be summed up in one word: it's a scam, just like Azeroth. Not to mention Thanos, who has been hiding behind the scenes and is estimated to be as powerful as Sargeras, and the guys who are called gods in the 9 kingdoms of Asgard. Just talking about the strength on Earth is enough to make people shudder. The Hulk who can play with the evil god Loki as a yo-yo, the invulnerable Iron Man flying all over the sky. Thinking about this, Evanson really doesn't think he is anything special. Of course, Captain America is still under the ice, the Hulk is still playing hide and seek with his father-in-law, Iron Man has not yet been born, and Thor is still fighting monsters in Asgard. But what about the omnipresent and all-powerful S.H.I.E.L.D.? It is a huge entity, the pinnacle of secular power. When walking on the street, you don't know where a feather arrow shot by Hawkeye will fly over. When you drink a sip of water, who knows if it is poisoned by our popular lover Black Widow, a drop of which can kill more than a dozen people. Or, when you wake up in the morning, you find a group of fully armed American soldiers squatting at the door of your house, carrying long guns and short guns. These things, as long as you want to be a dragon, fight monsters, level up, kill people, and steal treasures everywhere, so that S.H.I.E.L.D. thinks you are an unstable factor in world peace, that is completely possible. As for taking the initiative to join S.H.I.E.L.D., okay, since you have some special skills, you are allowed to join. Then you will receive training to become a formal agent. You will have the corresponding authority and accept the supervision and orders of S.H.I.E.L.D. What? You want to be like Iron Man and Tony Stark? What a joke, you grew up in an orphanage, have no relatives, no friends, and no social status, and you are qualified to negotiate with S.H.I.E.L.D. Either be an agent honestly, or go to the laboratory to be experimented. As for you knowing the future and asking for special treatment, that's even better. As long as you are sure that your ability is real, you will be locked up in a room made of vibranium on the 100th floor underground, and there will be at least one armored brigade guarding outside, and there will probably be a nuclear bomb buried underneath to prevent any uncontrollable consequences. Then you will spend the rest of your life in this room, and every day you will tell everything you know under the detection of 100 sets of lie detectors. People without level 8 authority probably don't know you exist, and people without level 10 authority can't meet you. You still want to run around and dream about your life. Don't think that S.H.I.E.L.D. is a positive organization and will be as kind as the Virgin Mary. In their brains, which are more rational and logical than personal emotions, human life is just addition and subtraction. They don't mind sacrificing you for the happiness of the whole world. If you don't believe it, You can look at the situation of those superheroes. Captain America has always been waiting for orders from S.H.I.E.L.D., and as a soldier, he is used to obeying orders. War Machine is a colonel in the Air Force and belongs to the U.S. military. Black Widow and Hawkeye are both senior agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. These are controlled by S.H.I.E.L.D. or the military, and the rest are the Hulk. The U.S. military was beaten up by him, and when he gets angry, he can beat a block. Thor is as powerful as the Hulk, and he is not easy to deal with. Moreover, he has something to do with the Crown Prince of Asgard, and if things go wrong, he may even cause an interstellar war. Iron Man Tony Stark is a world-renowned tycoon, scientist, and philanthropist. This is not an identity that can be easily changed. Although Tony will shirk responsibility, he will still cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. The most important thing is that he has a big move. My father is Howard. See, those who are not awesome enough have already worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. or the military. Those who are not bad at S.H.I.E.L.D. either have a great status in the world and have cooperated with S.H.I.E.L.D. in many aspects, such as Iron Man. Or they are powerful and have a more powerful background, such as Thor. For people like the Hulk who do not cooperate with non-violence or violence, and who do not cooperate and have no background, they must be able to beat all those who do not obey below the atmosphere. But they are still chased around the world and hide in the slums under an assumed name. As for Evanson now, strength, 30 questions a day, persist for 3 or 4 years, it may be enough to deal with Captain America. If you meet the Hulk, you'd better bind the Soul Stone to yourself. Status. What status do you have as an orphan who grew up in an orphanage? No more than 20 people know you. As for the background, I don't know if the Burning Legion counts as his background. If it counts, he may die faster. This is much more evil than Hydra. So now Evanson decided to keep a low profile. At least before he has the strength of Captain America, he doesn't want to attract anyone's attention. Alas, look at the running under the sunset. That is my lost dream of proud sky. Thinking that there will never be that kind of life again, where men bow down to him and automatically become brain dead, and women are impressed at first sight, and they are naturally crazy about him, Evanson couldn't help but sigh again. Me? Melinda. In New York, a red vintage convertible sports car was speeding on the highway. The white man driving the car called out to the Asian woman in the passenger seat. The Asian woman was obviously distracted, and the man called out for a long time before she responded, "Cousin, what's going on? You're not in a good condition. We're on a field trip." The man named Coulson complained. "It doesn't matter. I don't want to go out on the field anymore anyway." Melinda replied absent-mindedly. "Hey, May, I know that incident has had a great impact on you, but I hope you won't dwell on the past. You have to cheer up." Hearing Melinda's answer, Coulson knew that his old friend was still immersed in the pain of that mission, so he comforted him. "Okay, I know. I will find a way to adjust, but I need time," Melinda said in a low voice. "That's good, but for now you have to complete this mission first. This is your last field mission before the holiday," Coulson said to Melinda while driving. Hearing Coulson's words, Melinda looked strange. "Don't say that. I heard that people who said that died in the mission. I'm not in a good mood, but I don't want to die yet." "Really? Who told you that?" Coulson asked curiously. "Novels and movies usually have plots like this," Melinda replied. "Ha ha, I didn't expect you to be able to joke." Coulson was a little surprised, but being able to joke was a good thing, because it meant that his old friend was still in pain, but he would get over it sooner or later. It's not the way for S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to believe in the plots in novels and movies, Coulson said with a smile. "Yes, they are S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and their ranks are not low. If they were filming a movie now, the picture would definitely freeze on their faces, and then a lot of subtitles would appear, saying Phil Coulson, the 7th Special Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the right-hand man of S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, and also one of his most trusted men. He has strong organizational and action abilities, and is proficient in firearms and fighting, as well as driving various vehicles. Melinda May, a level 3 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., is a Chinese American. She is an experienced soldier, spy, fighter and driver. At the age of 7, she was favored by Peggy Carter, Captain America's lover, and recruited to S.H.I.E.L.D. After the Bahrain Island incident, she was nicknamed Iron Knight. Of course, if you dare to shout that to her face, be prepared to be beaten to half paralysis by her. Tell me, what is the mission this time? Did the Middle Eastern terrorists transport nuclear warheads to New York, or was it color mail, or did the terrorist leader come to New York in person? Melinda said these terms that could cause large-scale riots among ordinary people in a nonchalant tone. At the end, she added, I hope there won't be any hostages. No, there are no terrorists, no nuclear bombs, no cholera, and no hostages. Coulson answered easily. How? Really? Without this, I don't think it's necessary for us 2 senior agents to take action. Can't we just let the action team below take care of it? Melinda said that without nuclear warheads and biological weapons, why should I take action? Did all the little guys below die in the line of duty? Oh, listen, this mission may not be that exciting, but it is indeed a little special. It is better to be cautious. These are the mission materials, Coulson said as he handed a stack of red-covered documents to Melinda. Level 6 clearance. It looks a little special. Melinda looked at the red cover and raised her eyebrows. Then she opened the document and began to read it. What is this? The owner of Richter's treasure shop. A man who sells amulets. Why should we, S.H.I.E.L.D., fight against feudal superstition? Melinda said in disbelief. A file with level 6 authority actually introduces a small street shop, and it is a small shop that sells all kinds of amulets. God, has S.H.I.E.L.D. finally defined this kind of thing as level 6 authority because the world is too peaceful and they are too bored? Even if he makes and sells counterfeit goods, deceives consumers, forces purchases and sales, occupies land for business and commits fraud, can't such things be handed over to the police station for handling? Does S.H.I.E.L.D. need to intervene? Still need to define it as level 6 authority? My brother, if you don't tell me that 1 or 2,000 people may die, how can you define it as level 6 authority? Keep reading, Coulson said noncommittally. Melinda also thought that Nick would not suddenly have a brain atrophy or cerebellar puncture, and he would be given a level 6 clearance for anything. Maybe there is something else in this small shop. For example, there is a dirty bomb hidden in the basement. The amulets he sells actually contain biological viruses. Or he himself is a big terrorist leader who planned and directed many terrorist incidents. I can't tell. It's too normal. An orphan who lives in an orphanage until he's 14. Then he opened this store. He has a normal household registration, normal insurance, and a normal police record. Melinda turned the documents over and over, but the more she looked at them, the more confused she became. The more she looked at them, the more normal they seemed. Normal household registration, full insurance, no suspicious records at the police station, not even a gang fight. It can be said that Feng Xiang is a law-abiding citizen. Where's the nuclear bomb? Where's the biological virus? Are you kidding me? Ha ha. Coulson laughed dryly at Melinda's puzzled expression, but it made Melinda very unhappy. Hey, Coulson, I know you must know something, but if you don't tell me earlier, your arm will probably be in a cast. Okay, I'll tell you now. Coulson was spineless in the face of Melinda's threat. He did stay in the orphanage until he was 14, But is it normal to leave the orphanage at the age of 14? Leaving the orphanage at the age of 14 is indeed too early, and he has to wait at least 2 more years. The documents say that he actually has a distant relative who wants him to inherit the estate. Melinda said as she flipped through the documents. An orphan from an orphanage suddenly inherits a large amount of estate. Come on, this seems like something out of a fairy tale. Coulson said jokingly. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Dissatisfied with Coulson's teasing tone, Melinda said. But it's true. Inheriting an estate sounds very mysterious, but it's not impossible. His legacy was 800 gold coins. After donating 300 to the orphanage, he left with the rest. Does anyone still use gold coins as a universal currency these days? Coulson continued. Gold coins. Maybe it's a special hobby. Not US dollars, not euros or pounds, but gold coins. This is indeed a bit strange, but this can't be said to be a problem. Besides, bye-bye gold coins are indeed not a small amount, but it's not too much, by the standards of SHIELD. But we didn't find his distant relative at all. Coulson finally pointed out the most suspicious part. The heir to the estate was not found. It was a considerable estate, but there was no heir. So where did the gold coins come from? This can easily make people think of theft, robbery, and murder. Or theft turned into robbery and then escalated into murder, and other discordant things. However, Melinda, who is a government agent, responded to this by saying, "Oh, what's next? Are you kidding me? Stealing, robbery, and murder. What the hell do these have to do with me? If he robs civilians, he will go to the police station. If he robs the rich, there will be the FBI. If he robs politicians, there will be the CIA. Even if he robs the president, there will be the Secret Service. What does SHIELD have to do with it? Look at his medical records." Coulson obviously didn't care about the inheritance issue. No medical records, no medical records, full medical insurance but never seen a doctor," Melinda said while flipping through the documents. "What does this mean? He has never been sick?" Coulson laughed. "How can a normal person not get sick? Even if you are not sick with blood mold, cancer, leukemia, or other terminal diseases. You must have a cold and fever, right? If not, then you may have a stomachache." "Maybe he's just too healthy," Melinda replied. "It's strange that a 20-year-old has never been to the hospital, but it's not unacceptable. Maybe he has a strong immune system, or maybe he can just drink 2 glasses of water for a cold or cough. He still lives on 6th Street in Brooklyn," Coulson continued. 6th Street. Melinda seemed to have discovered something and pushed forward a few pages of the document in her hand. Aha! He didn't even call the police, and the police didn't have any investigation records. It seems to be a bit interesting. Brooklyn's 6th Street can be said to be the cancer of Brooklyn, because it is the place where the Death Situation Gang, the largest black organization in the entire Brooklyn area, is most rampant. It is full of acts such as forced collection of protection fees, robbery, and drug trafficking. The residents and shops there are indispensable, and they have to deal with the Hesser Society and the police station. However, this document shows that the other party has never called the police, and the store is still running smoothly. In this case, it may be that the other party is timid and afraid of trouble. He dare not call the police even if he is robbed, and he pays a huge amount of protection fees. However, for such a soft egg, the Death Situation Gang, a third-rate organization, yes, those who collect protection fees on the street are third-rate, and high-level organizations have listed companies. Always take away the last penny of valuables and kick him out of Brooklyn. But it seems that his shop is still stable, so there is another possibility, that the shop owner is actually the leader of the Deadlock Gang hidden behind the scenes. Well, It is very likely. Look at his small shop selling amulets. It doesn't look like business is booming. Not only does it stand still on the 6th Street, but it actually hired 4 employees and raised a dog. A tall and strong man about 2 meters tall, a sexy and seductive female waitress, a taciturn fat man, and a sharp-nosed and monkey-faced chatterbox dwarf, and a benchmark in the world of idiots, a husky. And the most ridiculous thing is that among these, only the dog's household registration is normal. Yes, only the dog's household registration is handled through formal procedures, and it is also vaccinated regularly. According to intelligence, the identities of the other 4 people were all handled by local snakeheads. Haha, this is really worse than dogs. The Dead End Game, who's behind them? The Middle East's Ben the Beard. North Korea's 3 fat men. Libya's Kazakhstan? Melinda said confidently. The Dead End Game is the cancer of Brooklyn, but to S.H.I.E.L.D., it's just a mosquito. If they want to deal with it, they will kneel down and conquer within a day. There is no need for these 2 senior agents to take action, unless they have connections with large organizations abroad, and they want to follow the clues, play a long line to catch big fish, and catch the organization behind them in one fell swoop. No, the Dead End Game is just an ordinary third-rate organization, and our target has nothing to do with the Dead End Game. Coulson said affirmatively. Melinda closed the file and said calmly, Coulson, you are one of my few friends. Then, in the other's puzzled eyes, she continued, if you suddenly died or were seriously injured, I would be very sad. After saying that, she clenched her fists and crackled. Oh, okay, May, don't get excited. Coulson comforted her guiltily, and then told her everything he knew. The death squad has troubled him before. Including the most recent time, a total of 5 groups of people have gone there, but each time they ended up mysteriously disappearing. He took out his cell phone and said, this is what our informant recorded during the last operation. Melinda took the phone and opened the video to watch, but the content inside shocked her. In the video, there was a man in his 20s, whose face could not be seen clearly due to the backlight. He pinched the neck of a bald black man with his left hand. The black man struggled desperately, but could not break free from the man's control. Then, the man stretched out his right hand, and a strange purple light began to float out of the black man's head and gathered on the hand. When the purple light stopped, the black man also stopped struggling, and it seemed that he was dead. Suddenly, a burst of green flames enveloped the black man's body, and in less than a second, the black man turned into ashes. What is this? A mutant? Melinda said in shock. She knew that there were some special people in this world who had abilities that ordinary people didn't have. Just like her mission on Borain Island, the target was a little girl whose abilities were out of control. She had no choice but to kill the target, but the fact that she killed the child was a big blow to her. She didn't expect to see mutants again not long after. It could be, but we can't confirm it yet. Coulson said, the people sent there mysteriously disappeared, and even their bodies were not found. This made the Death Situation Game usually afraid to mess with that small store, but every time the boss of the Death Situation Game changed, they would want to take over that small store to prove that they were stronger than the predecessor. Our informant is a mid-level member of the Death Situation Game. He knew that the new boss would send people to cause trouble for that small store that night, and he was also very curious about what was going on, so he secretly placed a DV in a hidden place around the small store a few days ago, and then recorded all of this. No wonder it's set as Level 6 authority. Melinda said seriously, but suddenly remembered something. Coulson, we should call an action team. The other party is either a mutant or has some special abilities. If he suddenly attacks, the 2 of us may not be able to control him for a while. That's a residential area, isn't it? It's like a robber breaking into a downtown area, holding an AK-47, wearing a heavy bulletproof vest, carrying an RPG, and with 20 fragmentation grenades on his waist. And the 2 police officers sent to deal with him are 2 police officers with pistols. Do you want to use this method to support family planning and control population growth? Mutants always have some special abilities, which may be powerful, secretive, or strange, and of course there are some that are purely for fun. Those with less power are almost the same as ordinary people, but those with more power can be called tactical nuclear weapons. As for this target, the Dead End Gang sent 5 groups of people to trouble him, ranging from 2 to 20 people each time. But each time they were all wiped out. Although the fighting power of the gangsters is funny in the eyes of the agents, they are also more than a dozen adults holding knives, pipe pliers and pistols, not more than a dozen broiler chickens. So his ability should not be too weak, and from the video, he can burn a black man into ashes in an instant. It can be clearly believed that he has the ability to control fire, and the temperature of the fire is not low. You have to know that burning a person to ashes is not just pouring gasoline and setting it on fire. Military flamethrowers can't do this. It must be done with a professional cremator and it takes a long time. If it is to be done in an instant, it is estimated that aluminum thermite combustion aids must be used, which can be used to burn the Terminator. In Borean Island, a little girl with out-of-control abilities turned dozens of people into zombies, leaving her life and death to horror. Now we are facing an adult, and from the current reports, he should be very skilled in controlling his abilities, and his abilities are also very direct power, high-temperature flames. The most serious thing is that his location is a residential area, surrounded by innocent civilians. If he cannot be controlled immediately before he takes action, then his ability may cause a huge fire. As for innocent people being dragged into it and causing civilian deaths, this is foreseeable. In summary, after Agent Melinda learned the target intelligence this time, she immediately thought of mobilizing an action team. It would be best if a sniper could shoot him down from 800 meters away, or if 3 people could rush in with light machine guns and shoot him like a hornet's nest before the other party could react. In addition, 2 fire teams should be on standby to prevent accidents. Don't be so nervous. There's a reason why the higher-ups only let us go. Coulson didn't think the matter was that serious, and the higher-ups had made arrangements. Director Fury. That's what he thought. Melinda also realized that the Level 6 incident was not something that was decided on a whim. It must have been carefully considered. Besides, she had never offended Nick Fury except when she was 10 years old and said that his head looked like a boiled egg. There was no reason for him to put himself in a difficult position. That's right. Judging from the intelligence, our target should be able to control his power very well, and he doesn't abuse it. If it weren't for this coincidence, perhaps no one would know that he has superpowers. Apart from those members of the Death Stranding gang, who took the initiative to provoke him, he hasn't killed anyone else, and there have been no strange fires nearby. Coulson spoke slowly, but Agent Melinda obviously didn't have that much patience. Just tell me your conclusion directly. Coulson was interrupted without getting angry and said directly, he can control his power, restrain himself, and has no antisocial tendencies. So after research, it is more likely that he is harmless. Possibly? Melinda felt that this statement was not certain enough and was not something a senior agent should say. Of course, this is just a preliminary study. The final result will be after we have contact with him. This should be considered a field investigation. Although there is a preliminary study, it is better to find an experienced agent to talk face to face. What if the conclusion is harmless? Melinda is a member of the cavalry regiment that is responsible for combat, so she has only come into contact with harmful targets. She is not very clear about the handling process for harmless targets. If it's harmless, register it, learn about its capabilities, and warn him that it's best to keep it as it is now and not mess around. We'll check it regularly, and then we'll live in peace. That's how the conversation between the two ended. As for what to do if it's defined as a harmful target, Coulson didn't say, and Melinda didn't ask such a stupid question. Because the answer is obvious. It's as simple as 3 words that shine with the glory of humanitarianism: kill him. Richter Treasure Shop, a store with a history of 7 years. This is a very special store, which sells all kinds of amulets or things related to mysticism. There are common crosses, hexagrams, Buddha statues and bogwall from the East, and other non-mainstream ones, such as colorful voodoo masks, huge totem poles, and hula dolls. Although there are many varieties, the owner will also tell their various legends, but they all have one thing in common, that is, fakes. Although it is said that most of the idols and amulets in the world are fake and are imagined by mortals. However, the fakes here obviously have not risen to this philosophical height. Because they are at a lower level, they are fake from the material. For example, the gold cross is lead-plated gold, and the jade Buddha statue is glass. Of course, their prices will be much cheaper than the real ones. This is why this store has not been sued for deceiving consumers. After all, if you buy something at a quarter of the price of the real thing, it is either a fake or stolen goods. If you still come to buy it, it cannot be considered a deception. Of course, there are also people who want to go up and extort money. Such people are everywhere in the world, not a specialty of a certain country. As for why you don't know, it's very simple. Because no media outlet has been stupid enough to let this kind of thing make international news. However, this kind of people rely more on their brains, especially in the 6th block. So when they inquired about this small shop, they found that even the deadlock game dared not provoke it easily, as if there were still people involved in it. Then, after weighing their own weight, they just kept this kind of attention to themselves. As for the owner of this Richter Treasure Shop, it is our protagonist Elson Richter. He was 14 years old, just 1 month after awakening, and he left the orphanage and opened this shop. The reason why he left so quickly was not because he didn't care about the old relationship, but because he thought that sooner or later he would say goodbye to the life of an ordinary person. If he had too deep a bond with this orphanage, it would involve them in some dangerous things. So it is better to leave as soon as possible than to have a smooth journey. Then he believed the real estate agent's lies and bought the store. Because he had no idea about the outside world, he bought the store located in a gang-infested neighborhood under the deception of a salesman who boasted about everything, and then he got into trouble. In fact, Coulson's information was inaccurate. The Deadlock Gang did send 5 groups of people, but that didn't mean that only the Deadlock Gang came to cause trouble. There were also some thieves, robbers and the like who would climb through the windows at night. But thanks to these unfortunate guys, their selfless dedication has made Elson's Warlock magic a great improvement. At least his 3 years of simulating 5 years of spellcasting gave him a lot of opportunities for experiments instead of fantasies, as well as currency for trading with the void demons. And thanks to their souls again, he has a must-have for warlocks at home and on the road, the demon baby. But to be honest, when I first summoned you, I was really excited and relieved, but it was not until today that I felt that I had done something wrong in my previous life, and this is retribution in this life. Evanson said as he looked at the people standing in a row in front of him from tall to short. Looking at the combination of people and dogs standing in front of him from tall to short, Evanson was angry at first, and he was about to get angry. But in the end, he was replaced by a deep sense of powerlessness. There was no way. This was all my own fault. I didn't think much before summoning them. After all, how can a warlock not have a baby? Isn't this the same as an egg-filled pancake without eggs? But after the summoning, I realized that I was wrong. First of all, this big man who is over 2 meters tall has a look that can be said to have broken through human aesthetics. He has tendons and various scars, and his face is so hideous. In short, he is the kind of man who would do nothing if thrown on the street. Normal people would call the police if they saw him. When he stood at the door of the small police station, the police inside would have cramps in their calves and call for support immediately. His true identity is a demon guard named Taylor, who is good at using an Arcanite axe. He has rich combat experience and is crazy. If he goes all out, he can fight the Hulk for a few moves. He is Evanson's most powerful pet at present. But this big brother's creed is that life is about fighting, and he will chop and chop anyone he sees. If he doesn't like anyone, he will charge up and chop the person in half vertically or horizontally with the Arcanite axe. If he is in a bad mood or in a good mood, he may chop and chop vertically and horizontally. So after the excitement of the successful summoning passed, the placement problem really gave Evanson a headache for a while. Fortunately, he had the master-servant contract, so he didn't go around killing people under Evanson's orders. But don't think he has any other use. After all, a demon guard doesn't seem to know anything else except fighting, so he is now acting as a bodyguard in the store. Apart from using his 2-meter-tall and sturdy figure and ferocious face to intimidate the second-rate people on the street from time to time, he just sits on a recliner and watches entertainment shows. He doesn't do anything else and doesn't know how to do anything else. Evanson's comment on this is that this is a fucking ancestor. Next up is the second person in the queue, Ms. Sarah. This lady is so charming. Not only does she look charming, but she also exudes an attraction to male animals. Not to mention her heavy makeup. Even a wink from her without makeup can make you feel weak. As for her true identity, I guess you have guessed it without me saying it, she is a succubus. As for her weapon, it is a black whip that is very suitable for queens. Her combat power is just mediocre. If they fight hidden, Captain America can also take her down. However, she is not good at fighting. She is good at using stealth skills to come behind the enemy to launch a surprise attack, or using charm skills to interfere with the enemy, thus creating attack opportunities for warlocks or other demons. Because she is the only female demon and she is relatively smart, Evanson made her responsible for cooking and housework. She was originally a part-time cashier. But because of her appearance that brought disaster to the country and the people, the famous, well, not Sophimus Richter's treasure shop was almost mistaken for a secret door. Evanson has been asked questions like how much does that woman cost per night? By some lewd guys more than once. Usually, when a succubus meets these guys who want to have sex, she will happily agree, and then suck the other's vitality and soul when the other is happiest. But Sarah's reaction was to kick the man's balls because she is a lesbian. Yes, this succubus chick who has great attraction to most men is actually a lesbian who likes women. Evanson's evaluation of this is, damn, she thought she could get rid of her virginity. The third one is Duman. Generally speaking, he is a gloomy fat man. There is nothing special about his appearance, except that he is round and has a darker complexion. His original body is a Void Walker, also known as the Blue Fat Man. This demon without flesh and blood, which is completely made of shadow elements, is particularly resistant to beatings and makes others want to beat him. With just one look from him, you can feel that he owes you at least 8 million and has no intention of paying it back. This is the use of the Void Walker. Using his own resistant characteristics, he taunts the enemy crazily, makes the enemy focus on himself, and then lets his Warlock master take the opportunity to deal tons of damage. Sometimes, he will also separate a part of himself to become a shield for the Warlock. In short, he is a defensive demon. In normal performance, he does not show anything. It is common for him not to say a word for a day, and it is also child's play to stay in one place for a day. Once, Evanson didn't notice it. That guy actually stood in the corner for 3 days without moving. If Evanson hadn't remembered, he could have stood there for longer. So what do you expect this guy who is in the terminal stage of laziness and has severe autism to do? In this regard, Evanson commented that it is a good thing that this fat guy does not eat. The fourth place is a husky. Oh, didn't you say there were 4 people and 1 dog? How come the dog is here now? Yes, it is 4 people and 1 dog, but don't forget that I am introducing them in order of height. Yes, the dog is not the shortest. This husky, needless to say, is a hellhound named Habsburg, which is good at energy absorption and tracking. In the real world, it will be alert to whether there are strangers or people with hostile tendencies around it. As for other things, what do you expect a husky to do? Evanson's evaluation of this is, don't be deceived by his silly and cute appearance. After you receive the luxury dog food paid on delivery, you can't tell the courier that it was ordered by my dog himself. Okay, the last one is a dwarf with a pointed mouth and monkey cheeks, 2 centimeters shorter than the husky. The most common phrase he says is "I will burn through your knees," and Yao Ming's can only be his calves. His body is a little ghost named Cui Pushi. The body of a creature like a ghost is very fragile and timid by nature. But in fact, this creature is very evil and cruel, especially when they appear in groups. And they are born with an affinity for fire. The seemingly weak little ghost can release fireballs comparable to those of a wizard. Some powerful little ghosts can be comparable to those of a great wizard, of course. They only know this kind of spell. And if they appear in groups, their courage seems to be added, and they will become quite fearless. They will perform suicide attacks and rush to the enemy to explode. In order to avoid being complained about abusing the disabled, Evanson did not give him work to do. Of course, his height that is not as high as a shelf is also one of the reasons. In this regard, Evanson commented, "Who can tell me why such a small thing has such a big appetite? Demon pets, they should have been my right-hand man, but now I have to serve them instead. Fortunately, I have a way, otherwise they would really eat me out of money," Evanson complained. Of course, this small shop obviously cannot support the livelihood of Evanson and his family. He has various methods, such as robbing those who rob him and buying Stark Industries stocks. The most important thing is that he has taken a different approach. While other warlocks use their souls to exchange for knowledge and power from demons, he uses souls to exchange for gold coins. Imagine that a demon said in a mysterious way, "Mortal, do you desire power? Do you desire knowledge? As long as you offer a sacrifice, I can give it to you." But the other party took out a soul crystal and said, "Do you have gold coins or gems?" The demon said, "No." Evanson said, "Goodbye, next one." The demon said, "Wait a minute, that power." Evanson, "Sorry, I'm in a hurry. I'm hanging up." Demon, "Oh, wait, about that power. Oh my God, where did this crazy warlock come from?" Just when Evanson was worried, his Richter treasure shop finally welcomed the first batch of customers of the day. A man and a woman walked in, and Evanson's eyes lit up immediately. Damn, today is finally the opening day. It was none other than Agent Phil Coulson and Agent Melinda May who came in. After the two came to this so-called Richter treasure shop, they were really shocked. There was no other reason. Here were all the amulets of religions that could be found on Earth, not to mention the 3 major religions. There were also all kinds of amulets of Hinduism, Taoism, Judaism, and Voodoo. Of course, these were the ones they knew, and there were many that they didn't know. For example, the totem pole that was more than 1 person tall had an Indian style, but its label card read, "May the Great Mother protect you." There were also those colorful voodoo masks, which looked like primitive tribes in the rainforest, with labels that read "Voodoo forever, black arrows follow people." There was also a bone necklace with "Power and Glory, Blood and Thunder," and for the tribe written on the side, which looked like the ornaments of ancient barbarian warriors, and was generally made of the bones of enemies. Just like the one in front of her, Melinda, with her many years of experience, could tell at a glance that this was definitely not human bones, but a counterfeit of cow bones. Due to work requirements, Carlson and Melinda have some knowledge of cultures and religious beliefs around the world. So when they suddenly saw so many things they didn't recognize, they were quite curious and couldn't help but take a closer look. It would be fine if they didn't look, but when they did, they were shocked. They were all fake. For example, Carlson was holding a finely carved, tall braid-coat jade glass Buddha with a smile on his face. Really? Just as Carlson and Melinda were amazed at the fake jade Buddha, "Can you believe that jade can fade?" An enthusiastic voice came from behind. "It seems that you and this Buddha statue are destined to be together." This Buddha statue is not simple. The two turned around and saw a handsome young man coming over. From what he said, he was going to sell this Buddha statue. Carlson smiled and showed the grin in his palm, which fell off the Buddha statue. The Buddha statue that can fade is really not simple. This person was naturally in a hurry to open Evanson. He looked at the color of Carlson's palm without any embarrassment or shame. Instead, he said seriously, "God is an existence beyond everything. He doesn't care what material his idol is made of. As long as someone close to God blesses it, it can protect people's safety." Carlson and Melinda laughed in their hearts, thinking, "Your ability to talk nonsense in a serious manner is very suitable for our generation." Then has this Buddha statue also been blessed by a person close to God? Evanson answered very seriously and affirmatively, "Of course, it was blessed by a master in the Far East, China, which is called Kaiguang in the local area." Carlson glanced at Melinda, a Chinese, and said meaningfully, "China," and then asked sincerely, "Which master is it?" "Yes. Which master? We really want to know," Melinda added at the right time. Although she lives in the United States, she has not fallen behind in the culture of her hometown. She really wants to know what else this fake good seller can come up with. This statue was consecrated by the great priest Wang Lama of the Wudang Mountain office in Shaolin Temple. So, my friend, this statue is truly extraordinary. Evanson said something incomprehensible. However, this trick is still acceptable to ordinary Americans. After all, they don't know much about the relationship between Wudang Mountain and Shaolin Temple. They just think that such a long list of titles is very impressive, so they believe it vaguely. Of course, if the Buddha statue has not faded, it will be more convincing. Sure enough, Carlson and Melinda were stunned by the seemingly awesome titles. But Carlson thought that even a faded Buddha statue could be said to be so awesome. It was unparalleled. Melinda thought that this guy must have been burned out by his own powers, or he was just an idiot. Or he was an idiot and his brain was burned out. "Aren't you afraid that the gods will fight?" Melinda said. Hearing this, even if Evanson was thick-skinned, he had to turn away awkwardly, because Melinda spoke standard Chinese Mandarin. It was like pretending to be someone's marriage partner and then finding out that the other person was the Monkey King. It was a slap in the face. But when Evanson turned around, he saw his husky lying on the ground looking at him. Its left front leg scratched the ground twice and its tail flicked 3 times. Evanson immediately got the information that the 2 people behind him each had 3 guns. He immediately felt that he would not be able to open the business today. Also, although it was cool that the dog used some small movements to send secret signals, in fact, the information was sent by this hellhound through the soul connection. There are so many gods and Buddhas. Who knows which one is real? Just pick one first, maybe it will work. It seems that the other party is not going to buy his things. Evanson's tone is no longer as enthusiastic as before, but with a hint of arrogance. Sensing the change in the other party's tone, Coulson and Melinda are secretly alert. Whether the other party is angry because of the failed sales or discovered something, as an agent, you have to prepare for the worst. But he didn't show it on the surface. Maybe I should file a complaint against you for deceiving consumers. Maybe, but I've never seen a customer carrying free guns in a store. Evanson walked straight behind his counter and sat on a chair. His group of demon pets disguised as humans slowly surrounded him, especially the demon guard Taylor, who had been watching TV. He felt that there might be someone he could chop, so he immediately jumped up from the recliner, clenched his fists and walked over with a grin. Okay, disperse. Just as the group of demons were about to rush forward and take down the two humans, their master suddenly stopped them. Sarah, close the door. We're closed. I need to have a good talk with these two guests. Smart move. This prevents them from getting hurt, Melinda said after Taylor and the others left. She was very confident in her fighting skills. She thought that among those people just now, only Taylor was a little tricky, and the woman and the fat man could be easily dealt with. What? There are two more. Come on, Coulson is not dead. Although he is not as good at fighting as me, he can still deal with the husky. As for the dwarf, I'm afraid I'll step on him to death by accident. Maybe. Evanson didn't comment on it. Believe it or not, this husky lying on the ground can bite you to death. Damn it, this guy actually relied on being a dog to ignore his orders and continued to lie on the ground to bask in the sun. However, I am more curious about your identities. Ordinary people don't go out shopping with 3 guns each. And the Dead End Gang doesn't dress as neatly as you do, Evanson said as he looked at Coulson in a suit and leather shoes and Melinda in a suit and trousers. The Dead End Gang doesn't have such people. They feel embarrassed to say that they are gangsters if they don't have a few holes on their bodies and don't wear a few rings. Therefore, Evanson thinks that the other party is likely to be someone from a government department, the CIA, the FBI. After all, he burned many people to ashes, although it was done very cleanly, but after all, someone is missing. Although the people of the Dead End Gang will not call the police, those lone robbers and the families of thieves may. So Evanson is not surprised or afraid that it will attract the attention of these departments, because after all, there is no evidence. How can we prove the truth without a body, murder weapon or witnesses? So Evanson didn't care about the FBI and CIA. What really concerned him was, I'm Agent Tafor Coulson of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Agency, and this is Agent Melinda May. Coulson showed his ID and said, the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Agency, also known as SHIELD, is the name of the agency. It can be seen that it has the right to inquire about everything related to national security, including attack, defense, and logistics. From the police catching thieves to the nuclear bomb being transported to the White House, everything is within its jurisdiction. SHIELD was officially founded during World War II, just like its nemesis, Hydra. However, this organization, which is almost the two sides of the same coin, can trace its history back to the ancient Egyptian civilization. In my opinion, their goals are almost the same, to protect the safety of people all over the world, but there are huge differences in their concepts. SHIELD believes that the people of the world should not only be safe but also free, and that the world should be controlled by the people. The idea of Hydra is to let a strong leader lead everything, and people must sacrifice their freedom to gain safety. Everyone in the world is like a zombie hanging on the matrix. People don't need to think, the leader thinks for them. This is their idea. However, These two organizations with huge differences have the same attitude towards threats, that is, to eliminate them. Of course, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s lower limit is slightly higher than Hydra's. What bureau? Can you say it again? Or can you abbreviate it? This is Evanson's first reaction when he heard about this super awesome department. This is not because he is pretending, but mainly because the name of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency, if converted into English, has at least 30 pronunciations, almost like a tongue twister, and most people can't remember it after hearing it once. Coulson shrugged. More than one person has complained like this. You can also call us S.H.I.E.L.D. Evanson spread his hands. Okay, the name sounds impressive, but why did you come to me, a small businessman? He was prepared that he would have to come into contact with S.H.I.E.L.D. sooner or later, but it was a bit unexpected that he was found so early. Thinking of this, he looked at the husky lying on the ground. Feeling the gaze of the owner, the husky shrugged his nose and shook the tail behind him twice. Evanson got the information. Only these two people, no one else. Again, this is a message sent from the soul connection, and it has nothing to do with the action of shaking the tail. There were only two people, and it seemed that they were not planning to capture him and slice him up. Now, Evanson finally remembered who the two people in front of him were. Phil Coulson, the right-hand man of Nick Ridge, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., was known as the template of the agent, and finally became the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Melinda May was Coulson's close comrade-in-arms, but her future agent level would be one level higher than Coulson. After all, it has been 20 years. It is good enough that I can remember clearly how the plot develops, not to mention the appearance of the characters. Not to mention these two relatively unknown agents, even if they are Captain America or Thor. If they are in uniform, I can definitely recognize them. If they are in plain clothes, who knows who they are? S.H.I.E.L.D. has always been committed to protecting the world's safety, and based on this philosophy, the most important thing is to prevent people from knowing news they are not ready to know. We are a line of defense, standing between the world and the weirder world. Coulson introduced the philosophy of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then he stared at Evanson and said, "So we found you." Evanson turned his head and said, "Well, selling fakes is weird. Selling fakes is not weird, but selling fakes and exaggerating is weird. However, no, we are not looking for you because of this, but..." Melinda said this, and Coulson next to her took over the conversation and handed over a mobile phone. "Can you explain this video and the disappearance of some members of the Dead Bureau?" Evanson took the phone and looked at it. It was the scene where he drained the soul of a member of the Dead Endgame and then burned him to ashes. Then, he scrolled the video forward and found that the thing that filmed this video should have been there for a while. From the angle, the place should be a garbage dump. No wonder Habsburg didn't notice it. It seems that he treated him as garbage. Damn it, I will flush your luxury dog food down the toilet later. Feeling the hostility of his master, the husky named Habsburg lying on the ground immediately whimpered pitifully, meaning that I will decide when you get there. Who is afraid of who? Not having time to argue with his dog, Evanson handed the phone back. "I didn't expect to take a picture of it. It's quite handsome. Maybe I should go to Hollywood, so I can save a lot of special effects fees." "You're so smooth talking." Melinda cursed, and then said, "Don't you understand why we are looking for you?" "Wow. Now?" Evanson stretched in his chair and said exaggeratedly, "According to the movies or novels, you should see that I'm so amazing that you want to recruit me at all costs, or you think I'm a threat and want to get rid of me. Then I use all kinds of skills to fight with and courage with an organization like the Nazi military and police to escape from their mouths, and then single-handedly kill my way to the enemy's headquarters. While destroying this evil organization, I also have to seduce one of their beautiful agents. After saying that, he raised his eyebrows at Melinda, as if to say that you are that beautiful agent. Should I say you are a fake seller? You have a rich imagination, but unfortunately, that's not the case. As expected of a spy, he was able to maintain a calm smile in the face of Evanson's wildly imaginative statements and being compared to Nazi police and evil organizations. What? Are you saying I can't hook up with her? Evanson said in surprise. Neither. Melinda was not irritated by Evanson's frivolous tone, and answered as if nothing had happened. How could a senior agent be so emotionally moved by such words? Really? Don't the American people like this? Evanson seemed surprised, but then he said, but think about it. As a senior intelligence department, it is impossible to recruit a person just because he has some special abilities, especially. A flame appeared on Evanson's finger, and then it went out, especially with my special ability. It is as dangerous as bringing a bomb that can explode at any time into your own organization. That's a reasonable analysis. Are we here to get rid of you? Coulson asked. Get rid of me? What did I do wrong? Kill a few gangsters who broke into my house and robbed them. According to the court ruling, it was self-defense, but I didn't use a gun. Evanson narrowed his eyes. Besides, even if you intend to use the nature of the Gestapo, it's impossible for only two of you to come, especially after knowing what I am capable of. How do you know there are only two of us? Melinda stared at Evanson with sharp eyes. Evanson crossed his hands and supported his chin, and replied with the same look, I just know it.